Folks, we are back with the Eclectic Soundtrax podcast. We've been on hiatus a little bit because Skunk had a walkabout, but joining us today is Mr. Chris Duarte. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Great to be here with you guys.
So first thing, tell us, people might wonder when you start talking what's going on with your voice. So how are you doing, man? What's going on here?
Man, I don't even know. I woke up one morning and the voice was like really gone. It had no power behind it. And I was like, and it was just really weird. And that's why now it's squeaky. I feel like I'm that guy in The Simpsons, that teenager going through puberty. But anyway, I mean, this is the best it's been in like over a week. But I mean, I did one gig, and after 3 songs, I was like, why am I even here on this gig? This is stupid. Because I know they're there to hear my guitar anyway, but still, I mean, I'm so used to having the whole, the voice and the whole package. But yeah, at least I can communicate at least.
Cool. Well, I hope you are able to, we'll get this out, in this upcoming week here before Skunk Fest, which you're playing. I'm super excited to have you playing Skunk Fest. That's Saturday, November 12th.
Yeah, man.
Coming Saturday at the Rail House in Kyle, Texas, with an absolutely stellar lineup of just blues rock legends and summers, man. So I'm excited about that. But so hopefully you'll be able to rest up and be 100% for that gig. I know you've got some stuff going on with your girlfriend. Tell us about what you do with her.
That's more like an Americana thing, sort of a little bit of rock thing, and she's sort of venturing off in like sort of God, what is her name? This sort of semi-country, but she's sort of leaning towards rock now. She's like everywhere now. I can't believe them. 700 Rednecks is one of her big songs. Nikki Lane, is that her name? Okay. Yeah, she's sort of leaning in that style now. But before, she was doing a lot of country and a little bit of blues. And so I was just kind of smitten with her. But I really wanted to sort of explore that style and sort of expand my horizons, so to speak. But it's like an Americana blues thing. And she's just really great. She can sort of chameleonize and get into any kind of style.
Oh, cool. Well, I would say you're kind of like that too. And I wanted to talk about your origins and your background. Originally from San Antonio, Texas. That's actually my hometown as well.
Oh, really, man? Yeah. What high school did you go to?
Oh, I didn't. I moved. My parents drug me away to College Station. And that's so
not too far. Yeah,
not too far. And actually, I moved back to San Antonio. When I graduated high school, and that's around the time I discovered you, is in the mid 90s. And the first time I ever saw you, man, you were opening for Joe Satriani at the Majestic
Theater. I remember the gig. Yeah.
Really cool, dude. And then shortly after that, I met you at the Stafford, which is still a place in College Station, College Station, Stafford Theater. I think that's closed and reopened, a bit over different management.
Yeah,
I played there recently, and it's great, man. It's under great management now. It's really happening. They're doing a great job. The sound's great, promo and everything. Mm-hmm. So, but I remember that kicking way back in the day, and that was the place to go.
Yeah.
See, and whenever an Austin band came through, it was like, oh, know, so like guys like yourself and Ian Moore, and those kind of names, and so I remember seeing you there. And I was like, oh, man, I saw you open for Joe Satriani and this and that, and I was talking to, and you were the first guy that ever signed my first guitar. An old Washburn guitar.
That's great.
Yeah, and you signed it, and a bunch of other people have signed it over the years, and I retired it, and most of them are all smudged and unrecognizable because, I played the shit out of it. But you're on there somewhere.
As it should be,
Yeah. So I finally was like, I should probably stop playing this guitar and just, let it be.
Put it on the wall.
Yeah, put it on the wall, man. So... But anyway, so tell us about you're from San Antonio. When did you start playing guitar? What kind of music did you start with, or what was the catalyst for you getting into guitar and music in the first place? And then we'll kind of talk about, where it went from there.
Well, as the legend goes, it started with Fiddler on the Roof. That's what sort of planted the musical seeds. When Fiddler on the Roof made its network debut, probably back in, 73, 74, when I was living in DC at the time, I was in 3rd grade, and it's just that Fiddler silhouetted on the roof, sawing out that little line. I thought that was so cool. So when school started, I was like, I want to play the violin. I got to play the violin. Went down to school and I got in the line for band. And I said, I want to play violin. And they said, nope, too many violin players. How about the clarinet? I said, okay. So I went back to my mom. I said, Mom, they got too many violin players. They want me to play clarinet. My mom said, no. She said she was not going to have a squeaky clarinet practicing in the house.
I can so relate. I played clarinet. It was horror of just sitting around a bunch of
right.
Terrible.
So that
killing
was
geese over there.
The seed was planted, so they say. And so then when my brother got a guitar, he got a Takamine classical guitar, probably about when I was about 13 or 14. Then I got an acoustic guitar. I was constantly picking up his guitar. So then my mom went and got me a guitar, a Takamine F140, which is like a dreadnought style acoustic guitar. And then I would put electric strings on it so I could play electric guitar. But what I learned on was Beatle books, because they had the chords right over the words, you know, as you're reading the charts. Yeah. And so that's how I learned the chords and how I learned how to sort of pick up songs and stuff. And then I discovered I had a good ear. You know, I could pick out things like from the record. I could put the record on and just pick it out, whereas all my friends couldn't do that. And then I started to think, well, maybe I got something here. Yeah. And then I just started really working on it.
Man, you know, and speaking of which, so this would have been like the late 70s or something around there?
Mm-hmm. Probably talking 78.
Right. And so back then, I mean, this was vinyl before the resurgence of vinyl. Like now it's back in a big way, but back then.
Vinyl and 8-track back then.
Oh, yeah. You're lifting up the needle, put it on, lifting up, put it on.
You know what I mean?
So like, learn.
Yeah, we're spoiled now. It's like, oh, just go to YouTube and any song ever, or Spotify, or any backing track, you could just easily rewind and play it up. Right. Now, back then it was like, doo-doo-doo.
Right, exactly.
In a way, you know, and even CDs were way easier, and that's kind of where I came up. But I think in a way, like I think there might be something to that about the players that learned back then. I was talking about this with my roommate guitar player I played bands with last night, actually, is just like that sort of generations past, not that, you know, where you kind of, it was just implied almost that you got to have a blues background, right? You got to know the 12-bar blues, whether you're a blues player or not, and get that fundamental background. But also just the idea of like, you know, really listening and really focusing and deep, you know, and paying. And I think nowadays in such a fast-paced, just, you know what I mean, like everything all the time, it's so much harder to do that. But you had to do that, especially with something like vinyl. You got to be very focused on what you're doing, right? And back,
discipline of listening and catching things had to be very you had to be more acute.
Right. Yeah. So maybe that was advantageous in that for that generation that had to learn that way. Like, you know what I mean? Developing that, like you said, discipline of listening. And I always talk about that when teaching and stuff too. I think it's a lot of times I remember I would just sit with old guitar books, the old Hal Leonard, Cherry Lane guitar books, Guitar World magazines and whatnot, and just listen to whatever I was listening to and follow along, you know what I mean? Right. I wasn't even always playing. I was just fascinated with what was going on. Just, you know, try to pick things out by ear. And I was always kind of an improviser, but I was also very fascinated by just written music too. So did you ever develop that background as well in terms of like studying music and reading and more music theory and that kind of stuff? Or was it always more of an ear sort of ear player? Like where did you go like in terms of your studies?
Well, of course, it was ear at first. And then, you know, after the, you know, learning all the chords and stuff, the little finger diagrams and stuff on the Beatles books, and then doing the ear playing and stuff. I mean, my first guitar solo I learned was it's Keith Richards' Give Me Shelter solo, that one. But anyway, you know, Black Sabbath, I started getting the heavy stuff because San Antonio was a heavy metal town back then. So Black Sabbath, you know, Judas Priest, all those cats, Scorpions, all those guys I listened to. And then I heard Al Di Meola, Land of the Midnight Sun, and I was like, "Whoa, I want to be like that." You know, that's right. But what happened is I moved to Austin in '79, and the bass player that I went to school with, he could read music and stuff, so he started teaching me how to read music, and so I started getting into prog rock and stuff. Yes, and I started buying the Yes books and started learning how to play those songs and stuff. And then I started taking jazz lessons, which I didn't even show up for most of them, but I learned mainly just a few things about reading. And after that, you just have to practice reading, sight reading.
Right.
I mean, my sight reading is still not great, but I mean, I still pick up solos. I got a ton of Andrew White solos, Coltrane transcribed solos that I'll just pick little parts out. There's the Charlie Parker Omni book. Everybody knows about that book, learning little licks out of all his solos and stuff. And that's what I did. Oh, of course, I had the real book back when you had to ask for it, like under the table and stuff. And, I'll take that and I'll take that and I'll take a real book. And then, okay, here you go. But anyway, yeah, so we do that. Sorry, I had this thing go. There we go. And this, so that, and then I got into jazz bands, and I would learn how to read chord charts really well, but still my sight reading sort of lagged behind. But still, I did learn how to take a little bit of theory, just the very basics of it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I think a lot of guys, I don't know if that the sort of like, oh, real book because it's not cool or something, or what do you mean by it? Like, I describe what you mean by that exactly.
Because they were illegal.
They were illegal.
Yeah, because they were back in the day, they were illegal because they weren't paying the copyright charges or the copyright royalties. And that's why you couldn't buy them legally because the ASCAP police or royalty police can come in and bust you and take all those books. So you had to ask for it under the table. And and all the jazz guys knew which music store sold the real books.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. I never knew that. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had one right here because I'd show you, because they have no copyright stuff on it. It's just that. And there's a podcast. There's a podcast my daughter sent me that tells the story of the real book. Steve Swallow had something to do with that out of Berkeley. But interesting. But yeah, it was illegal.
Wow, that's cool. I never knew that. I'll have to check that out, man. The story of the real book.
Yeah.
That, I guess. Yeah. So what I was kind of going with is like, there's, I think a lot of times with like rock players, because there's like got to be cool persona, like, oh no, man, I just play by ear. I don't know any music theory. All this. And I think a lot of times it's like, I call bullshit. Like, you have to know a certain degree of like what a 1-4-5 is in your keys in this chord.
Right, exactly.
I mean, come on, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's the ear thing, but there's also a language you just have to be able to communicate. And everything. So yeah. Go ahead.
I haven't been turned down from a gig because I couldn't read music, but it makes things so much more efficient when you can say, what key is it? What's the form? I mean, my bass player, I just sort of flash the keys to him. I'll tell him, these are the sharps, these are the flats. And I'll just tell him what key the song's going to be in. He'll know what it is. But I mean, yeah, you have to learn a couple basic things that makes things go so much easier.
Right. Yep. So let's see, San Antonio. What did you move to DC? And I for some reason I feel like you were in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania at some point.
No, I was in New Hampshire for a little while.
Sure, okay.
That was like 90 and 91. Moved up there. I lived with my brother on a summer camp.
So one of those. Okay, so you moved to Austin and then you went up there and then came back.
Yeah, I went up there. Yeah, came back to Austin.
How long have you been back in Austin?
Actually, I came back to Austin, then I went and moved to Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for 10 years. That's what you're probably talking about.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because I was surprised. I saw you. It's probably been a good 5-6 plus years now, and I saw you at Saxon Pub.
Okay.
Were you living here then at the time?
I was probably, because I've been back for about 8 years now.
Okay, cool. And I was kind of surprised because I remember you had moved. So I was like, oh, cool. You're
right.
Austin.
And I moved back here because my daughter moved back here. She graduated Oregon State and she moved back here. She was born here in Austin.
Oh, okay.
So I moved back here to be close to my daughter.
Town hasn't changed a bit, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. I feel like I'm one of those old guys that goes down the street. Oh, that building used to be that. And that used to be that over there.
None of this was here. Yeah, the Hill Valley Mall was all a field.
Old pine trees.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I just, the traffic just drives me crazy sometimes. But that's about Austin. It's just gotten so damn expensive. That's the really hard part. Yeah. But other than that, it's still, I love Austin.
Yeah, just the price of everything and then inflation going through the roof.
Yeah.
It's just like, how does anybody afford anything?
Right.
So let's talk about, you moved to Austin, you said originally in 79, you were just playing, I guess, the clubs, or tell us like what was your first band? How did all that start?
Moved to Austin in 79. I lived with the bass player I went to high school with, because he sort of taught me how to read music and how to do all that stuff. And then I got in a jazz band with him because he knew his brother, who was a good piano player. He was playing a jazz band. So we got in a jazz band together, reading the real book and all that stuff. And then I met this guy named Bobby Mack, who was playing blues. And I was kind of a snob to blues. I was like, oh man, I'm playing jazz. What's this blues stuff? So easy, And then when I started trying to play it, I was like, I don't sound anything like these Muddy Waters albums or these Howlin' Wolf albums. Yeah. These guys just sound so real. And I don't sound as sincere or as authentic as that. So then I sort of put all my efforts into sounding like that, because I was getting into a blues band and we were starting to tour around the state of Texas. And this was when I was about 17. But my first gig was playing in an Italian restaurant, and my pay was a plate of spaghetti. I got dinner for playing background music. We were just playing right out of the real book, is all we were doing, reading charts and playing the heads. But that was my first one. And then I got Main Street. That was a jazz band. I think my first paid gig was $35 or something like that. I can't remember. But then I got in the blues band. That was like my first band, really playing a lot of clubs around Austin and getting out and playing in the state, going to Lubbock, going to Dallas, going to Houston, San Antonio, getting out to New Mexico, Santa Fe, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So just starting to kind of expand on that in the 80s. And you know what? I did not even realize that you had an album before Texas Sugar Strat Magik, Chris Duarte and the Bad Boys in 1980. Yeah. But that's not on like Spotify and stuff, is it? I don't think.
No, you've got to really look to find that. There was one, I think it was called Last.fm. I think they had it on there. But I was trying to get on it. You had to sign up, but I still couldn't get on it, because there's some fan that just wrote me recently that's like hooked on one of the songs that's off that album, and he can't find it anywhere. And we both went down that rabbit hole, the Last.fm. Wow. And I told him, well, somehow I'll try to get it digitized and get him a copy, but I haven't found it yet. But yeah, that album came out because I knew a guy, some of those people that we all knew in our younger days that, dabbled in other sources of income and stuff. Right. And he decided to put some money in on me and help. He knew a guy that had a studio, and they recorded that album. And it's an interesting album. I mean, I wouldn't say it's interesting.
That do you feel like that album is like a predecessor to what was to come? Is it kind of got the blues funk, some of the elements that you have?
Yeah, it's kind of got a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of got a little bit of prog rock stuff to it.
Oh, really?
Then it's got some blues. Then it's got some blues to it. But I mean, on a very, very basic level, I wouldn't say. I mean, I was trying to do some sort of black market weather report sounding song, but it just, I didn't have the chops to really hold that up, But
I want to hear this thing, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's still for sale out there on eBay. You can find it anywhere from 25 to, I've heard people pay as much as $175 for it.
You got a proper bootleg out there, man.
That's right.
So then from that time to when I guess your sort of, official debut that did really well, right? Was that was Silvertone Records?
Texas Sugar, Silvertone, right.
So tell us, how did that come about? Who's on that record? Who produced it? Recorded all that?
The people that are on that, it's John Jordan on the bass. John Jordan is now a journalist. He works for an online political magazine here in Texas. I can't remember the name of them, but they're a magazine of some repute. The drummer was Brannen Temple. Brannen is still out playing in Austin.
Way back in the day, Brannen. Yeah. I'll be damned. Okay.
Yeah, Brannen, I think, was maybe 19 or 20 on that album.
Yeah, he's
somewhere around there.
Everybody, dude. Yeah.
Cool. But I keep hitting this thing. I can't believe it. I keep the chord that comes out. I'm gesticulating with my hands. Calm down, Chris.
I can relate.
Okay. Well, anyway, so Brannen Temple is on the thing. There we go. Oh, well, I've got everybody. Oh, well, anyway. Brannen Temple is on the thing. And so how it started is I signed up with a management company, Pet Sharks, which was Cleve Hattersley, which was in Greasy Wheels. He sort of managed me, and we would just play Arlington, Fort Worth, Norman, Oklahoma, Lawrence, Kansas, and Lincoln, Nebraska. And we do this run, and then 3 months later, we do it again. Right. And then we slowly started to spread out a little east, started spread out a little west into Colorado, into Salt Lake and stuff. And before we knew it, we found ourselves up in Chicago at Buddy Guy's Legends. And Buddy Guy at the time was signed to Silvertone. And so Buddy Guy's Legends at this time still had pretty much a built-in crowd. You know, it would be packed there every weekend. And so we're playing there. And the A&R guy from Silvertone was calling up, talking to the manager saying, who's playing there tonight? They said, oh, this guy, Chris Duarte, you should see him. He's really an on fire, sort of Stevie Ray Vaughan, sort of punk blues kind of guy that's playing. And the guy, Michael Tedesco, goes, I kind of like that. I'm going to think I'll go down and check it out. And so he came and checked us out. And then in a matter of months, we were signed.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's how it went. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then and then you just kept building. Now, once you got on with the label, did they facilitate the record, or did they help facilitate the next record and or expanding your touring?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I mean, being with Silvertone under the Zomba umbrella, because they were underneath the Zomba umbrella, that was like being with a big record company, meaning they had their own in-house promotions, in-house people out there in the radio business, getting representatives in sort of districts in the area. Every time we go to we go in the Northeast, there would be some guy I would meet up with in the radio stations, and he would take me around to all the radio stations, like in about 4 or 5 cities. That was like the old time back in the mid to late 90s, before payola, really, I think. But yeah, they had all that stuff going, the art department. And so they facilitated all that, got the promotion going. And then since it's pretty much an economics game, if you don't make so much or you don't sell a certain amount of units, you know, that sort of dictates how your second album's going to be. Because if your second album really doesn't make the cut, then they just got to let you go. You know, that's just part of business. And Tailspin didn't sell, you know, Texas Sugar did 160,000 units, and Tailspin did about 35,000. And they were like, we love you, Chris, but it's just a numbers game. Sorry. So
interesting. That's but it's also such a fickle business, and trends and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not even a reflection of the artist, because both those first 2 albums are fantastic. And and Tailspin Headwhack, actually, I mean, that the title track is a great track. And I think that's the album that you have a cover of Thrill Is Gone on. And that's a song that I love. And you got a really cool cover of that, man. I like the kind of just the drum vibe, the funky sort of put to it. But then Cleopatra, that was one of your biggest hits, right? I mean, I remember hearing that, and it seemed like it got quite a bit of radio play. Like, that song did pretty well, did it not?
Yeah, Cleopatra actually did pretty good for being on my second album and doing well for a single. It actually did okay. You know, I was real happy. Monterey International, that's the agency I was with, and they would send me this paperwork that would show the markets, the radio markets, and I would see which markets I was getting a lot of plays in. And there were certain cities like South Bend, Indiana, they were playing that song a lot. Savannah, Georgia was playing that song a lot. Kansas City. But I would just sort of study this, you know, all that stuff back in the day when I was still with big industry, you know. Then, you know, as you slowly your popularity starts to wane, you start going down the ladder a little bit, and, you know, you get with smaller agencies and stuff. But that's all right. You know, it doesn't bother me. I'm still happy with where I am.
Well, and you've always made your living this way, right? I mean,
exactly.
Playing, you're a total road dog, and always have been. And so, kind of with what you just said, though, what was it like? Did you really feel a shift? Because it seemed like when you caught that sort of success and you really started popping in the late 90s, and were really kind of honing all this and signed a deal and did all these cool things, like. Not too long after that came the Napster thing and the internet and digital stream. Everything game changed forever, right?
Right.
How did that affect you, or did you feel like it had much of an effect? Like, what was that like?
I felt it had a little bit of effect, but I don't think I was touched as much as the big artists,
right?
Because I don't think I was pirated or copied as much as like the Metallica, what those guys are making. I mean, I could totally get it because, I mean, if you're talking about losing a penny a copy, and they're getting millions of downloads, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. Definitely. Yeah. Me at my level, it only hurt. I mean, it only helped me because I needed to get my word out even more. So it didn't bother me that much. But I mean, I could see the way the landscape was changing, how that was really going to take away the power of the record companies. Right. You were going to maybe lose a lot of royalties unless that sort of shifted over the way ASCAP and BMI gathers royalties, which I'm happy to say they have made a good change. I mean, now they collect the internet royalties and stuff, which is really great. But yeah, I mean, I think I was sort of a little bit, I shrugged shoulders about it because I thought it would help me make me more popular if people copy me more.
So were you really like on top of that then, like trying to hitch your wagon to that star, or were you kind of like, we'll just see where it goes? I feel like it took a while before that all really made sense for an artist. I mean, I guess there was MySpace once upon a time.
Yeah.
I remember when that first happened. It was
right.
super cool because it was like, oh, you can go find people and their songs. I found a lot of artists that way, and met people and jammed and got in bands, and then obviously Facebook has kind of been dominating, I guess, arguably ever since, and Instagram and all that. So I would assume a guy like you, do you do your own social media, or do you have the luxury of someone else doing that crap?
No, fortunately, and unfortunately, I'm not good at that stuff. And I was so constantly touring so much. I just thought I was so old school. I was like, I just got to practice and really get good and start playing my ass off, and that'll grab their attention. If I'm out there still wowing them with my playing, and maybe start trying to put out some decent product and stuff. And I just never caught on to the Facebook stuff. I still don't. I'm still not on Facebook. I mean, I'm on there, but somebody runs that stuff for me. Right. But I'm kind of just a private guy too, because I mean, I've had all kinds of things. People sort of dig into my life, and I just come from that school where I just tried to keep myself private. I don't know. I'm just one of those guys, right. But when I'm at my gigs, though, I'm totally available. I'm there for my fans. I'll sign, I'll be there signing till the last autograph's done. I get out and do promotion stuff because that's what I say. When the record comes out, that's when the work just starts.
Yeah.
I tell my label, I don't care where you send me, because I've done it all. I played in a Hooters parking lot, at 6 a.m. in the morning for a breakfast brunch, or on the loading dock of some electronics firm, or inside a mall, Kitty Mall or something. I've done it. You just send me wherever it is. I'll be there to promote my record. Don't you worry about it.
Well, that's great. Yeah. As an artist, I think that's awesome. Yeah. Man. I think I can personally say, it has such an impact on me as a fan of, various players and artists over the years, of just like when someone takes that time, really gives it their all on stage, which you absolutely do. I mean, you're lost in the moment on stage.
Right.
Captivating. And then, but also then the show's over and you're not like, okay, bye everybody. It's like, yeah, you're going to talk to your fans. You're going to, take photos and sign things. And I think that's so important. And there's something to be said for that. And fortunately, I think what's really great, even though the industry has been turned upside down and constantly changing, and labels, all that stuff's different. But getting out there and playing live and connecting with people on that level is still, I think, as valuable as it's ever been, especially maybe now, right? There was that. Oh, by the way, what was it like for you, someone who's known this life, I mean, pretty consistently for most of your life, right? Getting out there and playing and touring and promoting records, to have everything shut down and just sort of be locked down. Would it feel like a needed break, or were you going stir crazy?
No, I went a little stir crazy because, I mean, that's what I love to do. I love getting out on the road, I like being around the house, but it's like after a couple months being around the house, it's like I'm ready to get out and get on the road, let's go. Because I get into a routine when I'm out on the road, I've left all the partying behind. It's just, I go play my gig and I give it all. And then I go right to the hotel, watch some terrible movie on HBO and get up and repeat it, do the long drive the next day and get ready to play, that's my life. But I love it, because every day is different on the road. I mean, it's the same, but it's still a little different. I just love it. And then I get to see my friends and stuff out on the road.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, but then when the live streaming, Zoom and stuff started taking over, and we started getting some kind of income revenue was coming in, that was nice. So we still felt like we were connecting with people going through Zoom and stuff.
That's cool that you did some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say with in regards to touring and all that, I feel like the younger years are like, yeah, let's go and party and all night long and then run yourself in the ground. And then when you get a little older, you're like, hey, all I want is a hotel. And
exactly. You know,
a nice meal in a hotel and I'm good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's how it was. I mean, I was actually, back in the early days, but every time I saw one of those bands that really partied hard, when I'd see them out on the road, I knew they weren't going to be around for many more years. I'd say I give them a couple more years, unless they had a big song and they broke out on the radio or something like that, which I did see that happen a couple of times too, but that's okay, man. But yeah, I mean, if you burn it hard, you're gonna burn out real fast.
Let's see, man. Where was I at here? I'm just kind of actually looking through any in particular albums that you have. I have Love Is Greater Than Me, Romp 2003. I mean, you're pretty consistent. You're always we're putting out a record every few years. Are there any records that are your personal favorites that you really think personify you or some of your best work? Or are you kind of, once it's done, I move on to something new? Like, what are your thoughts on your catalog? Well,
my standard line is, they're all my children. I love them equally. That's what I tell when somebody says, what album should I buy? When they're looking out. But I always tell them, get Texas Sugar first if we got it. Actually, they don't make that anymore. So they don't make a lot of my CDs anymore, actually. But I mean, Texas Sugar is really something special. Dennis Herring did a really good job on it, really captured. I mean, he did something special with that, made it sound good. That album was actually remixed by the Japanese, and it was really nice. They did it. You could tell the difference. The guitar, the drums were a little high on the original mix, but then they set the guitar in a little bit better on the remix. So I like the remix.
Okay.
Let's see. I like Tailspin. Love Is Greater Than Me. There was a couple good songs on it. I liked it. It was okay. I guess I'm just doing a rundown in my head now. I just love them all equally. Some of them have decent songs on them. I mean, I'm just real hard on myself too. Could I have made some of them better? Sure. There's a lot of them I wish I could have made them better. I think we all had that.
Yeah, that's your curse. A curse as an artist. You're always going to be like, that should have been 2 dB. No one else.
Right.
If I only had one more take, right?
Right. Hindsight.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you said that, Vic, because, man, that's one thing about you, Chris. I get the feeling that you very much, you play in the moment. And are you like that with recording too? Like where you want to get a full take? Or, I mean, obviously you can punch and all that. It was way different what you were doing in the 90s. I imagine those albums were tape, I would assume. And nowadays everything is digital. I don't know if you still record to tape, but very few people do,
Right.
So what has your process changed at all just in the way recording technology has changed? I'm sure it's a little different depending on the producer you're working with and what they're trying to bring out of you. But do you have a way do you like to approach the studio like live as much as you can? Like that would be my assumption, but I don't know. Maybe you're very different in the studio and you're okay to put it under microscope and sort of punch through things. What is your process there?
You hit it on that. You hit it on the head when you said producer. It really depends on how the producer works. Dennis Herring liked to record everything. He kept everything. So it was a live thing. And that's how Texas Sugar was done. Everything was done live. We went to a different producer. David Z did Tailspin Headwhack. And then Thrill Is Gone, Cleopatra, and Catch the Next Line were done by Gordie Johnson out of Canada. He was with a band named Grady that was in Austin for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Good guitar player. I like Gordie Johnson. And so that's why the songs sound so differently. Like people say, and then you listen to Cleopatra. They just got two different feelings to them.
Okay.
But then I got with Mike Varney, and that was just so different. He likes to put up the scaffolding, and do it the traditional way, get drums and bass If you get a few rhythm guitars, fine. But, you know, you're going to come back and do the guitars and vocals later. And that's how I kind of got in that groove for about all the Shrapnel records are like that. You know, they were all done like that. I mean, some solos were like pieced together. But now I just worked with Dennis Herring again.
Oh, cool.
The album's all done. It's been done for a while, actually. I was wanting my record company to put it out this year, but they're going to put it out South by Southwest next year.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so it was great to work with Dennis again. And it was funny. I'd gotten so in the routine of doing that, you know, okay, let's get the drums and bass, and then we'll come back and do everything else. When I went there and we did it all, and I came back to do vocals, I grabbed a guitar. I walk in the studio, a different studio, and it's just the console room and a vocal booth. And I was like, are we going to do any guitar? He goes, oh, no, guitar's done. I was like, what? Guitar is done? I wasn't even thinking about playing guitar. I was just doing, okay, solo. Let's just fill it up here, do whatever. You know, but it actually sounded good. Everything worked out really good. So I'm real happy about this new album, working with Dennis.
That's awesome. I was going to ask about that because your last release, was it 2016? Was
7 years ago, about 7 years. Yeah, Fan Club, exactly.
And has this been done? Was it done like pre-pandemic, and then you had to sit on it because of that, or was it kind of?
No, it was done. We did it all last year.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay, cool, man. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Let's talk a little bit more about Shrapnel and your relationship with Mike Varney. I recently met Stoney Curtis. Do you know Stoney Curtis?
Oh, I've known Stoney a long time, man. Stoney's great, man.
Super cool dude. Great player. Man. I'm so happy to have him come into Skunk Fest too, dude.
It'd be great to see him too. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, cool, man. And he was like, yeah, Chris's family. And so how did that come about, meeting Mike Varney and getting with Shrapnel?
I was doing a gig in Vegas, and Mike was living in Vegas. This was probably right around when I was just leaving Texas Sugar, because we were playing the Palace, the station casinos in Vegas.
Okay.
And so Mike Varney came out, you know, at one of my gigs. This is just Tailspin's been done for a while, and they had dropped me. And now Mike was showing some interest in picking me up, and Rounder was showing some interest. And so Mike had met me at Mill Valley. I'm sorry, let me backtrack. He had met me at Mill Valley outside San Francisco, a club north of San Francisco. And he was like, wow, you know, Chris is doing like this Mahavishnu thing. He's doing really great stuff. And he had always been really interested. And so then when he heard I was dropped off of Silvertone, he sort of stepped in and wanted to bid. He put some bids in me. So I knew all this going on, the machinations going on, because of my lawyer. She said, oh, Mike Varney's interested. Rounder's interested. So my lawyer said, oh, well, let me take these bids and let's start a bidding war. And so she started bidding war. And of course, you know what I did? I went with the person that was paying me the most money. And that's what we did. We went with Rounder. And so like about a year or two later, Mike comes out to one of my gigs in Vegas, and we talk for a while. We just sort of catch up. And as I'm walking away, Mike goes, hey, Chris, what do you think would happen on the negotiations for the record? And I said, Mike, I think my lawyer used you to get more money from me, you know, as a bidding war. And I'm sorry it worked out like that, but I'm pretty sure, I'm sure that's what she did with you. And he goes, that's great, Chris. I just want to hear you admit to that. Because I mean, I was just wanting to be honest with him, because it was just business. And that's the way, you know, I'm trying to make the most money for me, and my lawyer's doing that to make the most money for her, whatever.
Of course.
But then after I dropped from Rounder, then Mike Varney picked me up. So then I started a relationship. I'd always kept in touch with Mike. And so we started going out to Northern California there in Cotati, and started working on albums at the Prairie Sun Studios, which is a great studio, great gear. Muka runs that studio. Great gear. That's in Cotati, Cotati. It's up the 101, about 60 miles north of San Francisco.
Oh, okay, cool, man.
But it's it's a small little town, but it's a great little studio. It's converted chicken houses, because that's why they call it Prairie Sun. And then all the calendars they used to do have some sort of chicken theme to them. But it's, like I said, it's got great Neve boards there, great SSL board, old equipment. I really like the place a lot. So we did the next 6 albums there.
So you were on Rounder for the 2 that I mentioned earlier. Then
right.
What is Blues Bureau International? What is that?
Shrapnel Umbrella.
So that's still Shrapnel.
Right.
You know what's funny? I never even realized until recently that I always thought Shrapnel, because I had all those old instrumental.
Yeah.
All that
shredder, yeah.
Instrumental guys. And I was like, what? They got a blues edition? That's freaking crazy, man. So that's super cool, dude. I never even realized that. Okay, so you were with Shrapnel then. You did 4 records there. Wow. Actually, all the way until really recently, the Fan Club album, right? So
actually, I did 6 records with them.
6 records.
I think I did. Let's see. Blues in the Afterburner, Blue Velocity, the live one in Japan, the Bluestone album, the Blue. God, what's that one? God, I can see it. It was supposed to be like a Hendrix.
My Soul Alone, Infinite. No, that's a
there you go. My Soul Alone. Yeah, that makes 5, and no, it's the other one. Infinite Energy 6. There you go. 6.
Okay.
Named them all.
What? Tell me about that Japan, live in Japan. So how was that recorded, and then who mixed that?
That was done by some guys in Japan that we knew. This sort of relationship I had started with all the guys from Bluestone, and we just decided, well, we play this nice club in Tokyo, Blues Alley, and they would go down there and they sort of hooked up everything, with their stuff. They recorded it on Pro Tools, and who mixed it? I think I want to say, I would have to look at the album, but I think somebody in Kotati mixed it. Not in Japan. I think somebody in Kotati mixed it. They just sent us the files, and then we did that. We paid them something. They sent us the files, and we mixed it ourselves.
So was Mike Varney producer on those Shrapnel records, or were there different producers and different mixers?
No, he's the producer on all of them.
He's the producer, and then a consistent team that he works with for
me and him.
That's it.
I mean, there was pretty much, we used this one guy that was the engineer, and that was pretty much it. It was just the engineer. Wow. So it was Mike, his engineer, and then we used this one guy for a while, and then we got another engineer. The last 3 albums, I think we used 3 different engineers.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah. You like working that way? I'd imagine so. Just a tight little knit.
Yeah, I do, because we all get to know each other real well. We know how to finish each other's sentences. Right. We can sort of look down the road. We all know how, because we all get sort of know each other. Right. But I mean, now that I've gone back to Dennis, I pretty much like this live approach, because this last album I did, I recorded the whole thing with 1 guitar, 1 amp, and 2 stomp boxes, and that's it.
And now obviously the way of like that you've worked with Mike Varney and so many records are made is, do you have the song and do you jam live to a click or not a click, or to capture the drums and bass live, or is it just like scratch tracks, then drums, then bass, then guitar, then vocals kind of thing? Or was that kind of the routine with the Shrapnel stuff for the most part?
Well, yeah, I mean, pre-production, we do all the songs, we play them for Mike, and we start making notes and see how we can sort of edit them. Let's do this, let's do that. And then when we start recording, then of course it's going to be 99% when we're to click tracks, because there's a lot of cutting and pasting going on. So that just makes it efficient, just doing that. I mean, like I said, 99%. There were a few songs that weren't click track, but most of them had a click track. And that's about it. I mean, we try to get the bass and the drums down, and we try to work with that. And then after that, we'd start working on guitars. I would come back, or if we had enough time, I would just stay there and I would start working on the guitars and then start working on the solos. But I mean, Mike would be there. He'd be listening to me playing the solo, and I'd be playing, and he would literally grab me and have to stop me. Okay, stop. Okay, let's do something right here. Yeah, it was like pulling the plug on me, I'm so into it, doing it. Yeah. Stop. So it took a little to get used to, rather than Dennis, where it's just, don't worry, just play it all. I'll use a piece here if I want, or just do the whole thing,
Right. So with Dennis, especially now, he's just doing playlists of you guys playing live, right, of the band.
Right.
But
exactly.
I'm assuming, so drummer's got a click and you guys are playing to him. Is that kind of?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But he's capturing everything live.
Yeah. Dennis does. And then Mike's capturing everything live. But still, I mean, if we have to move, so that's why the click track's there. If we have to move something, that's why the click track's there, so we can cut and paste and it matches up. But I personally would like to have a click track, because I know, some stuff just starts moving, and I could play just fine to a click track. I've been playing the metronomes for like 20 years, 30 years of my life. So a metronome does not bother me one bit. I can swing to it or whatever.
Right.
So it's just better for me. I think it's better just to play to a click track. But some stuff, I mean, it just depends. I mean, if you're jazz, some cats like to have not ever. And I think I digress. But I mean, we're just trying to get it on down. And I mean, but I loved when I'd be stuck on a song and getting with Mike and just trying to work through some things. There's been many fond memories of me and Mike just sitting down, working through a song and getting the form out. I really miss that with Mike.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome, man. I think he's working on a new record with Stoney right now, actually.
Yeah.
So Vic, you got any, what you got?
Yeah, no, gear questions. Yeah.
Okay. By all means.
Yeah. Fender guy or what's going on there? What's your choice of clarinet?
I'm right.
What clarinet do you play, Chris?
Selmer purpose. No, I mean, I'm a Fender guy, but I'm more of a Strat guy. I mean, because I play exotic guitars now, exotic XOTIC. They make a bunch of pedals, but they've been they've been repping me for a while on guitars. And so I just like the tonal variation you can get with the 5-way switch and stuff. And so I've been a Fender guy for a while.
So what is Exotic Guitars? That's a company that is...
Exotic. Yeah, they're out of California. They're out of Japan, really, but they make their guitars here in America because it just looks better if it says made in USA. You can get more money for it.
Right. Is it similar to a Strat, like the style?
Oh, yeah.
And everything?
It looks just like a Strat, except for the headstock, and the body's just slightly different because, for trademark and patents and all that stuff.
Is it all single coils?
Yeah.
Do you have pickup preferences?
I like the Lindy Fralin ones. If there's ones you can buy there, actually, Exotic makes some pretty good pickups. I'll just I can make anything work.
Right.
I've always said tones in the hands, so I can make anything work.
Very true, man. What about amps?
I pretty much love my Fenders and Marshalls. I love those things. I really haven't gone off into the boogies or the line 6s or any of that stuff. I pretty much have a lot of old Fenders and some old Marshalls, and I love them.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Dude, seriously. Like speaking of that, so like what about pedal board? Like what's your pedal setup like?
My pedal setup, I am still old school. They're strung out, running series on the ground in an ergonomic design, sort of an arc. Really, they are. Because I used to have a pedal board right a long time ago when pedal boards were just starting to get used, or people were just starting to make them. And it was at Musicians Exchange in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And a pedal went down and I could not get it out of the chain. And I had this meltdown on stage because I couldn't get anything working. So I was like, I'm never going to have that happen again. So I have all my pedals run in series. I mean, I've gotten better. I used to have like 13 of them down on the ground. Now I only have like 8, but yeah, I use, let's see, I've got the Boss CE5 chorus that makes Leslie
in series. I want to know how they go from.
Okay. Well, let's see. From the plugged in the first. Okay, I have an ABY box because that splits off the tuner. You always keep the tuner out of the loop. That's what they say. Tone killers. Loop tuners are. So I've got that on the A channel, and then the B channel is the pedals. Okay. So after the ABY box, I've got a Mutron octave divider, an original mid 70s, late 70s Mutron octave divider. After that, I've got a Moulon, MOOLLON, long delay. I call it a long delay because it mimics an Echoplex. It even has a knob for a warble. They're beautiful pedals. They're chrome. They got these engraved designs on them and stuff. Really nice pedal. After that, I've got Pedal Diggers 819 pedal. It's the small one. Then I got the larger one, and then the largest one. And as it goes down in size, it gets crazier in distortion. So, but I've got the small one, larger, and the largest. That's where it goes. And then after that, if I'm with my girlfriend, then I got an exotic EP booster right there because I only play a small little 64 Princeton amp. And that sort of gives it a little bit more power. But on my thing, I don't have the EP booster. I go right to a Boss DD3 and then into a Chorus CE5, Boss Chorus CE5, and then that's it.
No, you have a wah pedal?
No wah pedal.
No wah pedal.
Oh, no. Man. I just think everybody and their dog uses the wah pedal.
You're right. You're 100% right. You'll see me and be like, there's a guy abusing a wah pedal up there. Yeah, it's absolutely for not being one of the many Kirk Hammetts out there.
I have nothing new to offer that. I think Hendrix and Jeff Beck, and a few other guys have done it all, so let them do it,
Yeah. And has that been pretty much a mainstay? Are you always trying new pedals? Or are you like, I like my Strat, I like my Fender, and this is my pedal chain. I don't need to try a zillion new pedals?
No, I've got a ton of pedals. And I mean, it just depends. I mean, I'll put a pedal in the chain. Sometimes I'll have a pedal and it'll break. And then I'll grab a pedal off the chain. And while I'm getting that fixed, I start learning how to use this new pedal. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, I know how to use it. I know how to get everything out of it. That other pedal never makes it back in the chain. Right. And so I just learn how to use a pedal, get what I can. I mean, I truly give it probably maybe about a month's worth of gigs. And if it's not really getting what I want, I'll take it out and put something else in there. But no, I've tried a bunch of different pedals. I've got probably 75 pedals, 80 pedals. I do. Mainly most of them people have given me over the years. But yeah, because I hardly buy pedals anymore. They're just given to me now.
What about like you have specific cables, strings, anything like that?
Strings, GHS, DYs, the dynamite alloy.
What's your gauge?
11, 15, 18, 30, 40, 50. That's my gig. And it's tuned down a whole step too. I go down a whole step. For Beth's gig, I do a 10, 13, 17, 26, 36, 48, and I'm at 440. That's the 440 guitar I said I would bring to the jam and stuff. Right. I have that. Okay. Just because, it's her songs are instead of trying to transpose all night long with her, it's just easy. Just make it 440 and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But the GHS, of course, but they've been with me forever. Personally, I like D'Addario. Strings only have to last 3 hours to me, and then they're gone because I change strings every single gig. But GHS has stood by me. They've been there for me. So I'm a GHS man.
I'm glad what you just said made me think of something. This is really cool. This is years ago, maybe must have been late 90s. I saw you at Antone's, and I hope this was you. I'm almost positive it was you. It was one of the coolest. It wasn't you. Just pretend it was you.
Okay.
I just remember this, man. Like, it was one of the coolest things I remember ever seeing was you broke a string. Hey, did you play, by the way, have you played in the past Epiphone as well? Did you?
Yeah, I got Epiphone guitars. Yeah.
Nope. I think you were playing an Epiphone, and
maybe a green Les Paul, Sparkle Les Paul.
That's the fucking guitar. That's the guitar you were playing, man.
I still got it.
So this has got to be you. So you were playing this guitar. You broke a string, and I mean, you finished out the song, whatever, and then you just start changing your string on stage, and you started reciting like
Shakespeare. I don't know what.
Fucking Shakespeare. And dude, it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, because the second it was just like you rattled out this Shakespeare like it was nothing. And the second you finished that Shakespeare, you busted into the song.
Right.
It was brilliant, man. I thought that was so damn cool.
Yeah, that's my thing I do when I break a string.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I break a string during the song, I step on the delay, put it all the way the longest setting, so it repeats. It keeps repeating. That way I can unplug it, grab the other guitar and plug it in, step off the delay, boom, continue the song. Nice. And people just get amazed when they see it. Whoa, he didn't stop. The song didn't stop. It's a simple trick, but it's so effective.
You are the smoothest break string changer guy I've ever seen.
What we used to do before that was John Jordan used to have a stopwatch, and we used to time myself. And my record, I had to have the string in my hand, and the guitar had to be okay. The broke string was taken off, and I had to have the string still in the pack. And so I'd have to get it on the guitar and in tune, and my hands would go up like, in calving, roping the calf.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And 28 seconds. That's my record.
Damn, dude. Impressive stuff.
Yeah, I got pretty good at it.
You could do a class on this. You should offer an online class on how to change your string fast, effectively, and still be entertaining during a gig.
There you go.
I would sign up for that class.
Okay, there we go.
It's one of those master classes that they're always advertising. Right. Samuel Jackson, Oscar winners, and Chris Duarte changes strings.
Right. And mine's the shortest one of them all. 5 minutes. You learn everything.
Who can beat 28 seconds? I dare.
That's right.
Wow, man. Well, that's pretty cool. I'm glad that made me think of that. And gosh, what were we even talking about? String. Oh, that you change your strings. That's amazing that you change your strings after every.
Yeah.
But you play hard, and I mean, furious.
Yeah, that's why I change them, because I play so hard. The strings are not going to. It's very, very rare that they'll last past the gig.
Wow. Okay. Well, cool. Let's see. I gotta go ahead.
I was about to say. Also, I want to say I'm not one of these guys that sells a bunch of equipment on eBay or anything. I keep all my stuff. I've sold very few stuff. I've sold maybe a couple of guitars to like deserving fans and stuff. But, all the pedals people have given me over the years, I have not turned around and sold them. I still have all that stuff, So if anybody's wondering, or if they want it back, I'll be glad to ship it back too. Because, I don't want it. If I'm not using your stuff and you want it back, that's fine with me. It doesn't bother me.
You're not like, thanks for the freebie. I want to put it on eBay.
Go under some name.
Under a fake name. Like, just put it under a fake name. Victor Ramos pedal for sale.
There you go.
Yeah. All those Mulan pedals I sent you. Come on, I'm them back. I do have some pretty pricey. Exotic gave me a bunch of pedals. Tons of pedals.
Yeah, just like sell them under some of their name, but then just say previously owned by Chris Duarte. And actually, you selling your own shit. And you strike me as like not someone who's. Obviously you're going to be picky about having the gauge of strings, and you got your once in guitar.
Yeah.
But like you said, the tone, so much of the tone is in your hands. And then you've got great players who also the tone is in the hands, like Eric Johnson. But Eric Johnson, is notorious for like, is that a Duracell battery?
Right.
Do you know Dave Shearer by any chance? Do you know?
Yeah. Great player.
Dave's a great player.
Yeah.
We had him on. I wanted him to do Skunk Fest too, but he had another something else he had already, and he plays with Brannen too, I believe, sometimes.
Yeah, he does. Mm-hmm.
But he was. We had him on the podcast a while back, and he was talking about playing with Eric Johnson, as his utility guy, and
exactly
the insanity of Mr. Johnson.
Yeah,
something about the amps with rusty. What did he call them? Rusty shoulders.
Oh, the shoulders. Yeah.
He liked the slightly rusty.
Just if it's moved just an inch,
Yeah.
And things are fine. And I've asked Eric, I said, do you consider that a curse or something that's you're blessed with? He goes, oh no, my hearing is a curse.
Really?
He wishes he didn't have to go through all that stuff. That's what he say. He goes, I wish I can just step up on stage and everything's great. But he goes, I just have to get it dialed in so everything's right, has to get all things in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
But when you listen to him play, it's like, okay, I understand.
Yeah. Who are some of your favorite players? You cited some guys earlier coming up that Aldi Meola blowing your mind and going through the prog rock and Coltrane. But who are some maybe guys we haven't mentioned that were huge influences?
Well, McLaughlin, like one of my number one guys, McLaughlin. And of course, I like Mike Stern a whole lot. I remember when he came out, on the Man with the Horn album, but when the We Want Miles album was like, whoa, he did like some great solos on it. And I'd gotten to know Mike and stuff like that. So Mike's a great guy. Let's see. Michael Landau. I go through these real bad Michael Landau phases where that's all I'm listening to for a while, But of course, there's all the blues guys too. Of course, there's the Hendrix, the Beck, And of course, when I say Beck, I mean Jeff Beck.
Right.
I love the other Beck. I love him too. But Beck to me is Jeff Beck. And all the other greats, Clapton, Eddie Van Halen, all those cats, still, Tony Iommi, of course, one of my huge early idols and stuff. But, all the blues cats, like I say, Hubert Sumlin, Pat Hare that used to play James Cotton a long time ago. Jimmy Vaughn, of course, Stevie, it goes on. I like Sue Foley a lot. Sue Foley's a great player too. And there's just, there's just a lot of cats. I'm missing a bunch of them, but there's a lot of cats I love.
Yeah, for sure. Back to me seeing you way back, was I remember you covering, I want to say you covered Hendrix Angel. Is that right?
Yeah, I used to do Angel.
And I think Wish We Were Here was another one you covered, right?
Yeah, used to Wish We Were Here. Yeah, should do that.
Do you go through like sort of having some covers in and out of the set, or is that stuff that's way retired, or do you just sort of like, how do you approach gigs? Do you just sort of like, here's the set list tonight, or do you kind of have a sense of what you're playing? Obviously, when you're touring on a new record, you're pushing that.
Right, yeah, you're pushing the record. It used to be, when I had a much better mind going up there when I was younger, and I could remember stuff a lot better. I used to not have set lists. I would just sort of gauge the crowd and see how okay, it looks like they're a dancing crowd. I'll play a bunch more sort of dancing, rock and blues and stuff, or some shuffles and stuff. If they're a listening crowd, I'll play sort of the spacey jams and stuff like that. Cause they'll just, if they're a hippie swaying stuff, I'll play sort of the hippie jam, rock jam stuff. But now as I'm getting older, I have to start writing out set lists. And, I want to put in new covers because, who doesn't get tired of doing the same songs over and over? Right. I know John Kay has got to be like, Born to Be Wild. Here we go again,
Right.
And although I know he doesn't mind it when the royalty checks.
That's the price. Sure. Yeah, that's the price of writing
exactly.
Shit,
Right. But because I get tired because I've been playing some for so long. I would love to start playing. I used to play Moment's Notice, Coltrane's Moment's Notice, playing Coltrane solo. I used to love doing that song, but I haven't done it in a long time. Used to play Giant Steps too. Used to play that song a long time ago.
I would love to see that, dude. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I used to do it. I used to have this intro to it and stuff. It was a lot of fun playing that song.
You should be able to just call that one. No big deal, right? Hey, everybody, we're going to do Giant Steps. Go.
Well, you're right. Exactly. That's the way you chase off guitar players that just play by ear.
Yeah.
Chase them off the stage.
Yeah. I tell you what, if you were called Giant Steps, I'd be like, bye.
Exactly. Boom, backside.
Yeah.
But no, there's the standards that I can do. Is Blue Monk, All Blues, all these other songs that are real easy to pull off. Right. Even Donald Lee, I still play a lot sometimes, but it's just hard to find some other cats, that can play that song too. At least in my circles and stuff. Because I do play with a lot of guys that can play the song. Just some of the local guys I play around with. I play with some sort of mediocre level guys, which are okay. They're sort of the younger guys going up, and I'm helping them sort of move up. And so a lot of this stuff is like a little bit over their head and stuff. So that's all right. They're learning, and I'm trying to teach them stuff.
What do you mean by that? Guys that are played, when you're like, not your band, but are you?
Now when I'm going out, like I've got a gig down on 6th Street it's the Blues Jam. And a lot of the cats that come out, they're not, a lot of them aren't pros. Right. And very few of them can play through charts and stuff like that. They haven't done it, but they can play a bunch more cover songs than me because I've never played in a cover band. So, I only know if somebody starts rattling off a bunch of popular covers, they've got me lost. I'm never going to be able to follow them. But if it's like jazz standards, I can kind of follow them for a little while.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like those guys were learning easy pop songs, and you were in the back alleys of Brooklyn with the mob learning.
Right.
Getting the real book.
Pie and real books changing. Yeah.
Skunk, I think you better practice for next Saturday. You better start.
Oh man! Well,
no.
Oh no! This is what I love though. It's like I want to just have some people get on stage and have a jam and have fun and feature great players, man. And I don't have to be the center of attention. I'll play a couple of licks.
Right.
Let you guys rip, but
you say that now, but you're going to have that spotlight pointed at you.
Well, I'll play. I love playing, blues. The weird thing is I've been doing a gig for 2 months where I've been on the road playing piano, and I've just barely touched the guitar. So it's just, terrible. Yeah, man. I have a rehearsal for my band tomorrow, and we'll be like, well, okay, here we go. But we're the kind of fun closer, and then we'll have the blues jam. And after, maybe we'll have you do Thrill Is Gone or something, just since you've got your spin on that one, man. Or I don't know.
Sure.
We'll call
whatever you want to play. Yeah, man.
We'll call something that won't be a jazz standard. It'll be a
right
blues song.
Boy Spring.
Side of the stage with the book.
yeah. Let me get this real. I'll be in the green room, like, oh Christ, like trying to
right
changes. Well, man, I wanted to plug. Tell us your website, Chris.
Website is Duarte.rocks, ROCKS.
I'm looking at it now. I know you've always. No, it's not right. Son of a bitch. Vic, can you
Take
pull that up?
Lowercase. I mean, I just tell people to punch in Chris Duarte, and by the time
got it.
But I mean, there is that basketball player that's Chris Duarte too. It's kind of usurped.
I saw that, man.
But he's not having a great career. I was hoping he'd have a great career, and that would help me. I'd sort of tag along on his coattails. But it's like I don't get him. I don't hear him mentioned on Sports Center. I was like, damn it, come on, guys.
But dude, you need to do
exactly.
He's on your fantasy team.
Yeah, just mention it. Just like they said, Colonel Parker used to say. Used to call up airports and page Elvis Presley so people would hear it. So I just want to have people say, Chris Duarte, where have I heard that name before?
That's brilliant, actually.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Man, damn, yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a band called A Good Rodgering, for better or for worse. And Nikki Glazer, the comedian, did a bit where she was talking about wanting a good Rodgering or something. And all of a sudden, like, people were sending me that, like, look. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I guess, hey, whatever.
Well, there was a band in South Dakota that played a lot of cover gigs and played the Sturgis rallies, and they were called Zwarte, Zwarte. Okay. And they would always get confused with me because people would always think, Duarte, is that Zwarte? Is that who that is? And they would always think we were related or something. I would get that. So there's another thing. People hear it a bunch. It's just that little C, that little where they say that ear mole or earwig in your ear or whatever.
Basic marketing, right? Just
ear candy or whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, we've been here talking with Chris Duarte, the basketball player. And I wanted to say, Vic, if you take a look at the website, obviously
I'm there.
November 12th, Skunk Fest. But what's some other stuff Chris has going on around the country? I know you're touring pretty heavily still for the rest of the year, right?
Well, I do have a tour coming up the end of November, and we're going to go up in the Northeast. I know I've got probably Manchester, Connecticut. I've got a private party in New Hampshire. I've got, I think, a gig in Boston and Cambridge.
Yeah,
I can't remember that club. I don't start to get to learn my itinerary till like a week or two before. So that's when I'll start learning all the club stuff. But I know I'll be gone for at least a couple weeks, 3 weeks maybe on that tour. And then I think I have some stuff in late December. And then January, I think I'm going to go up to Trempealeau, Wisconsin, and stay there, start writing songs for the new album because they want to get me in the studio next year as well. So that's what I'll start concentrating on.
Just a retreat for you? Something about
there's this little hotel that these people bought that's in Trempealeau, Wisconsin. It's right on the banks of the Mississippi. It's up there right outside La Crosse, which is on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. And they were like some .com people that got in on the .com game early. So they made a bunch of money and they bought this hotel, and they're just going to let me stay there at the hotel. I'll have the whole hotel. It'll be like The Shining, but on a very, very, very small level. It's a very small hotel.
That is awesome.
So they'll turn on the heat and let me stay there, and then I could give like some clinics there. There's a guitar shop up there by this guy named Dave something. He's up there, but it's a guitar. Vintage guitar place of repute. I think it's called Dave's Guitars in La Crosse or something. It's of repute, but I'm going to do some guitar clinics, and maybe I'll do that master class. I'll do that with string change.
String change.
I'll do that.
Duarte.
They'll put you right next to Morgan Freeman.
Is that
master class? Yeah.
Is that so? You're going up there to write, and then do you already know who you're doing the next record with? Is that going to be Dennis as well?
Yeah, it's good. It's the same label. I don't know who the players are going to be, but it'll be the same label, and it'll be Dennis Herring. Dennis has already agreed to doing the next album.
Cool. Are your players? How often do you switch? Is it just based on who can tour, or is your band pretty consistent?
Who can tour?
Yeah,
pretty much. Because I had to move back and get a stable of players, and so I've got probably a stable. Right now, I've got one drummer that pretty much handles the road, and I've got 2 or 3 bass players that can take care of it. The bass player that'll be at Skunk Fest is the one that's on the album. Her name's Jessica Will. Great bass player,
awesome.
Really, really solid. She's not a flashy player, but she's real solid. And she looks so cool. She's real taciturn. She's standing up there, unemotive, stoic, Nice. I love her though. She's great.
Cool, man. Awesome. I was going to ask did you play with Frosty at some point?
Oh yeah. Frosty was in my band for a while.
I thought so. Yeah, man. R.I.P.
Yeah, great player. I mean, just an amazing player. Really, truly amazing. I mean, I've been real lucky because I also play with Tom Breckline when I have gigs around Austin. He was supposed to be on that gig, but he couldn't make it. But Tom Breckline, he played with, Chick Corea and Wayne Shorter and Robin Ford in the Blue Line. That's him on those albums. Yeah. Tom's a badass.
Yeah. Okay. But he's not a touring guy mainly. He's about
he'll tour, but it's a lot of money to get him out. He's an older guy too. I mean, if I were to have him tour, I would want him taken care of, so it would have to be some good money.
Sure. Do you got any European or anything like that planned? When's the last time you were overseas?
I'm sure the label will send me out to Europe because since they have a big footprint in Europe, I'm pretty positive I'll get out there next year.
Awesome, man. Well, cool. DuarteRocks.com is where people can find you. I'm going to plug Skunk Fest here for a minute, Saturday, November 12th, which is going to be a couple of days from now when this actually comes out.
Right.
At the Rail House in Kyle, Texas, with the legendary Chris Duarte, Austin's own, and his powerhouse trio, and also jumping up with us and jamming at the end of the night. So that's going to be super exciting. I appreciate you doing it, Chris. We've also got Jared James Nichols on that bill. Have you heard Jared play? Guy's a beast too, man. I saw him at the Viper Room, and Joe Bonamassa got up on stage with him, and they were just going back and forth. It was pretty badass. And then Stoney Curtis, Shrapnel Family,
man.
Austin's Jelly Ellington, Finite Fidelity, Bobby Bookout, Caravan Thorn, of course, my band, The Good Rogering. We've got acoustic performances from Natalie Price, Susanna Lee, Darren Lane, my student Ethan Smith. Oh man, this sucks. I always forget somebody. Help,
Bobby.
I got Bobby Bookout in there. There's somebody acoustic I missed. Who did I miss?
Shit. Get that list in front of you.
Look at my flyer.
Go to the website.
Gonna put it in front of me.
Who was that clarinet player you had playing?
Oh yeah. Who was the clarinetist at Skunk Fest? Well, now we got awkward silence while I try to find a flyer.
Right. Oh.
And I found it. Who did I miss? Tyler Olfers is kicking it off, man. That's who, Tyler Olfers.
There we go.
And Ethos of Isba out of New Orleans. Head Rush, my adult band, will be playing. And man, so this is just going to be an absolute party. We're looking forward to seeing you crush it, Chris. And thank you so much for
my job. Of course, Skunk.
Today.
Anytime, man. Vic, good to see you, Vic. Good to see you.
Yeah,
man.
Absolutely. Looking forward to meeting you next week.
All right, everybody. It is good to be back, and this has been another episode of Eclectic Soundtrax with Skunk Manhattan and Victor Ramos with Chris Duarte. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. Later.
Hey, folks. That concludes another episode of the podcast. Guest links will be available in the show notes. We'd like to thank our friends at Top Shelf Music for showcasing the podcast on their site. Be sure and check them out at topshelfmusicmag.com for the latest music news, reviews, and events. We'd also like to thank the folks over at Tragan Guitars, Godin Guitars, Ernie Ball Strings, and 5 Iron Woodworks. Have a great week, and catch you on the next one.